Well, what we know about abuse is it happens to everyone, all walks of life, all ethnic backgrounds, all religions, because there's been too much silence around it, and women's voices have been stilled.
I think the thing that is foundational that I admire about her is that she's just such a compassionate human being, and more than that, she's a fearless feminist. She's a tireless advocate for social justice, and a really savvy politician. It's in her blood.
Jan Reimer's leadership with the Alberta Council of Women's Shelters and in the community at large has been vital in moving the organization forward.
She has a very focused approach on tackling issues. She's very strong in her communications and support for the women's shelters. And so she's provided that kind of leadership that's inspiring, and inspiring to many people as well.
Jan, when she came on to ACWS, we had just 2 staff, just a coordinator and a secretary. And Jan was a visionary who could see the potential for our organization to make a big difference. And she brought with her a background in government. She had been mayor of Edmonton. She knew how to work with the provincial government to get things done.
One of the first things that Jan did when she arrived was to get a small grant that provided funding to purchase computers for all the shelters across the province. Well, Jan got these computers and then worked with the government and members to set up an initial database.
We started to have credibility that we didn't have before. And so through her leadership, we helped the government develop the standards for women's shelters.
I think some of the great successes that ACW has had under Jan's leadership is one of reaching out into the community in a very deep way, particularly in our work with Indigenous communities and Indigenous women.
Jan had a very big impact on those interests. In particular, there are two very significant reports that Jan was very involved with in rolling out. Those reports dealt with areas of disparity of funding and inequity of funding between on-reserve women's shelters and off-reserve women's shelters.
That prompted the federal government to significantly increase that funding, not only in Alberta, but across Canada. It's been a really important piece of work that the shelters and ACWS has done in partnership with our Indigenous sisters and brothers.
Jan's impacted our organization in many ways. She's always on top of many new ideas and ideas for ending domestic violence in the province and looking for ways to make that happen. Really appreciate some of the things that Jan has done. She's dedicated a lot of time and energy. She's very connected to the mandate of the women's shelter. She is very much a partner with the government, a partner with other organizations, partner with the board, and a team leader for her team.
I think Jan has created positive change in probably every sphere that she has been involved in over her career. And in terms of Women's Shelters Canada, I mean, we are indebted to her for the creation of the organization. The first global conference of women's shelters happened in Edmonton in 2008. And that was really sort of the event that started the ball rolling. It was very much, her vision and that brought this together. And I think Jan brings together both vision and pragmatism, and both of those things were key in bringing to life this national organization.
As I look back on the last 20 years and the Alberta Council of Women's Shelters, there's just been so many successes, from the first Women's Shelter Conference in Edmonton many years ago. The Alberta Council of Women's Shelters is really a leader in Canada and throughout the world for all the work that's been done, and sharing of the information with others, supporting other folks all over the world around best practice and services and what the needs are. So I think it's amazing for such a small staff to have accomplished so much. And that's thanks to Jan's leadership over the last 20 years.
Jan's role formally was as executive director for ACWS, but she was more than that. She was an advocate, a staunch protector, if you will, of all the programs that they ran. She spoke from her heart. She provided that kind of leadership that encouraged other partners to join and support the ACWS. So there's a lot more than just the title, but it's the way in which she brought people together and kept them together and helped us to continue to see the vision of ACWS.
I would just like to congratulate Jan on her 20 years with the Alberta Council of Women's Shelters. Just want to thank you for all you've done for shelters, for the community, around educating around domestic violence. I'm just so happy you're still with ACWS, and I hope you continue to do that for quite a long time.
So Jan, I just wanted to take a minute to congratulate you on all of your successes and everything you've achieved. 20 years is quite a milestone, and I've been so humbled and so pleased to be involved in the mandate for Alberta Council of Women's Shelters.
Well, Jan, I love you. You were wonderful. You continue to do wonderful work, and you've just been a shining light and an inspiration to the whole family violence movement in Alberta.
I want to wish her the best. I have definitely missed her during this COVID period, and really look forward to the day where we can reconnect in person. But again, I thank you so much for having been such a leader in the journey with me in terms of the creation of Women's Shelters Canada.
So if I was to say one thing about Jan and recognizing the incredible amount of work that she's done with ACWS, and also the incredible amount of work that she's done in supporting our city of Edmonton, our province, is that we need more Jans. She's an inspirational leader, and I'm sure that there's many things that many leaders can learn from Jan, and for that, I'm grateful.
I'm very confident that Jan, we will be walking on the same path together again in a not too distant future. So until then, Jan, may the sun shine on your shoulders and may the wind always be at your back.
The work that I've been privileged to undertake with Jan and colleagues throughout the network has been life-changing for me. And I am so grateful to have had the honor of walking beside and working with her over the last 20 years. And I would just like to thank you, Jan, for sharing your wisdom, friendship, and your visionary leadership with me.